Got something to say? Let's hear it. Give us a call at 869-465-2555. Monday to Friday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. One solid hour of in-depth analysis of the machinery that makes our country tick. The Edge, cutting into the matters at hand.
Today is Monday, July 15th, 2024. It's 11:02 a.m. here in the studios of ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. You are listening to The Edge, and I'm your host, Devonne Cornelius. Thank you for joining me on the program for today. This program is also being carried live on our social media platforms, as well as our TV channel. For social media, check out our YouTube channel at ZIZ Online, or on Facebook, ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation. When we open the phone lines later on in the program, you can call us at 465-2555 or 718-577-2916. Those are the numbers you call to lend a contribution to our conversation for today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and thank you for joining me. Those of you listening in the Caribbean region, those of you at home here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I know we have people in USA mainland, Miami, Florida, Texas, Atlanta, New York, Washington, D.C., France. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and thank you for joining me. I think it's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon in France. So good afternoon, and thank you for joining me on the program for today. I look forward to having a conversation with you. I want to begin with news on the international scene and what has been developing over the past few days. I know you have been paying attention to what has been happening, and I'm quoting from AP, where the 20-year-old man who tried to assassinate former President Donald Trump first came to law enforcement's attention at Saturday's rally when spectators noticed him acting strangely outside the campaign event. The tip sparked a frantic search, but officers were unable to find him before he managed to get on a roof where he opened fire. In the wake of the shooting that killed one spectator, investigators were hunting for any clues about what may have drove Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, to carry out the shocking attack. The FBI said they were investigating it as a potential act of domestic terrorism, but the absence of a clear ideological motive by the man shot dead by the Secret Service led conspiracy theories to flourish. Quote, "I urge everyone, please don't make assumptions about his motives or his affiliations," end of quote, President Joe Biden said in his remarks Sunday from the White House. Quote, "Let the FBI do their job and their partner agencies do their job. I've instructed that this investigation be thorough and swift," end of quote. The FBI said it believes Crooks, who had bomb-making materials in his car, or in the car he drove to the rally, acted alone. Investigators have found no threatening comments on social media accounts or ideological positions that could help explain what led him to target Trump before the Secret Service rushed the presumptive Republican presidential nominee off the stage, his face smeared with blood. Trump said on social media the upper part of his right ear was pierced in the shooting, but advisors said he was, quote, "great spirits," end of quote, ahead of his arrival Sunday in Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention, where he will be nominated. Is expected to be nominated. 2 spectators were critically injured, while a former fire chief from the area, Corey Campretor, was killed. Pennsylvania's governor said Campretor, who was 50 years old, died a hero by diving onto his family to protect them. Relatives of Crooks didn't respond to numerous messages from the Associated Press. His father, Matthew Crooks, told CNN late Saturday that he was trying to figure out, quote, what the hell is going on, end of quote. I apologize for that. But wouldn't speak about his son until after he talked to law enforcement. An FBI official told reporters that Crooks' family is cooperating with investigators. Several rallygoers reported to local officers that Crooks was acting suspiciously and pacing near the magnetometers. I think I got that incorrect. The magnetometers, according to a law enforcement official who spoke to the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss the investigation. Officers were then told Crooks was climbing a ladder, the official said. Officers searched for him but were unable to find him before he made it to the roof, the official added. Butler County Sheriff Michael Sloop told the AP that a local officer climbed the roof and encountered Crooks, who saw the officer and turned toward him just before the officer dropped down to safety. Sloop said the officer couldn't have wielded his own gun under the circumstances. The officer retreated down the ladder and Crooks quickly took a shot toward Trump. And that's when Secret Service snipers shot him, according to two officials who spoke to AP on condition of anonymity to discuss an ongoing investigation. This is the latest development regarding the failed assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump at a rally last week. In the wake of Trump's attempted assassination, investigators search for clues around the motive and what could have led to this, what could have prompted Crooks, Thomas Matthew Crooks, to want to assassinate former President Donald Trump. We know that presidential elections are to be held in November, and so the political atmosphere in the United States is really high. It's tense, it's heated, and unfortunately people get very passionate when it comes around to these things. We don't know what the motive is, but the FBI and other partner agencies are said to be working on finding out what may have led to that. You're listening to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio, 96.1 FM. I'm Devonne, Cornelius, and thank you for joining me. I wanted to open with that. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll get into our conversation for today. Stay tuned.
From the heart of ZIZ Radio comes a political talk show like no other. The Edge, with host Devonne Cornelius giving you his take on the biggest stories happening in governance today. Got something to say? Let's hear it. Give us a call at 869-465-2555. Monday to Friday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. One solid hour of in-depth analysis of the machinery that makes our country tick. The Edge, cutting into the matters at hand.
Welcome back to the program. You're listening to The Edge. I'm Devonne Cornelius. If you're just tuning in, I shared earlier some updates regarding the assassination attempt on the life of former U.S. President Donald Trump, who is expected to be nominated soon as the Republican candidate for the U.S. presidential elections. The FBI and other partner agencies have launched an investigation in what could have possibly motivated Thomas Matthew Crooks to want to assassinate to assassinate Donald Trump. And so that is a story that we are absolutely following. And as we get more information, we will provide that information to you as the investigation progresses. I'll open the phone lines now and get your take on that. The assassination attempt on the life of U.S. President Donald Trump, and the seriousness of it. Caribbean leaders, including our Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, have condemned the assassination attempt on the life of Donald Trump. And so I'm going to share with you what the Prime Minister wrote on his Facebook page, and I think other regional leaders have. I've seen something from the Antigua Prime Minister, Gaston Brown. They have all commented on it. The Prime Minister said in a post recently, hold on. So the Prime Minister made a post condemning the attack, and I've also seen comments from other regional leaders. Just give me a second as I pull up that. Gaston Brown, he also had put out a statement condemning the attack. I've seen regional institutions and bodies putting out a statement as well to condemn the attack. So the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, has condemned the attempted assassination attack on former United States President Donald Trump, decrying all forms of violence against political leaders. Late on Saturday, Brown said that it is central to representative democracy that politicians must be allowed to campaign without threats to their lives. He said he was relieved that former Trump was not gravely injured. Brown also said that he was pleased that President Joe Biden also immediately condemned the attack on Mr. Trump, adding that throughout the world, well-thinking people must make it clear that there is no tolerance for violence in our political culture. We know that people could get very passionate when it comes around to politics, and so security for politicians and ministers of government and people who occupy those spaces where they make decisions that change lives must have security. The Prime Minister, St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, also wrote, he said, "I am deeply saddened to hear about the attempted assassination of former U.S. President Donald Trump. Violence and hate have no place in our world, and I condemn this heinous act in the strongest possible terms. My thoughts and prayers are with former President Trump and his family. We must come together as a global community to denounce such acts of violence and work towards a more peaceful and inclusive world." The phone lines are open and we welcome your calls at 465-2555 or 718-577-2916. Call us and lend your voice to the conversation at hand. The Belize Foreign Affairs Ministry also, they described the incident as an attack on U.S. democracy. Quote, Belize categorically condemns the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. We underscore the importance of free and fair elections as a fundamental principle of democracy. This encompasses the protection of the lives of all political candidates, the ministry wrote in its official Twitter, now X, account. Trump received a minor injury to his ear from one of the bullets fired by Thomas Matthew Crooks. The 20-year-old would-be assassin was shot dead by law enforcement moments after he opened fire on Trump. A prosecutor said at least one attendee was killed, and the Secret Service said that 2 spectators were critically injured. There should be absolutely no place for violence in politics. And as I said, this is the reason why, or this is just an example why Caribbean, not just Caribbean, but politicians ought to take security very seriously, because they occupy chairs, they occupy seats, they occupy spaces where they make decisions that could change lives. People are going to get upset at you because of a decision that you made, a decision that impacted their livelihood, a decision that may have impacted the lives of the people who are their family members or what have you. And so people get passionate, people get angry. And I know that because we are in the Caribbean, we're in the islands, we say, those things don't really happen down here. But one thing I've observed, our people are very reactive instead of proactive. And so these are things that we ought not to take very lightly. At the same time, there is no place whatsoever for violence in our democracy. Whenever there is violence, and whether that violence is supported and encouraged, it undermines democracy. It is a threat to democracy that people worked so hard for. And we cannot be supporting in any way, shape, or form. We cannot be encouraging in any way, shape, or form for there to be violence in politics. We must remember that the people who are the politicians and the ministers of government and the diplomats and whatever, they are people as well. They too have families. They too have a life to live. But yes, people get very, as we would say here, antsy. People get very emotional because of the decisions that our politicians make. And these decisions are life-changing. These decisions are far-reaching, whether it be for the better or for the worse. These decisions really affect a large society, a large group of people within the society. And so, unfortunately, it fuels one to turn to violence. Remember, in 2021, July 2021, where Haiti President Jovenel Moïse was assassinated at his home. I don't think they ever gave the actual motive or the actual reason as to why he was assassinated. I think later reports suggested that his wife was also being questioned as a possible suspect in the assassination of Jovenel Moïse. But I think that sent shockwaves across the region when it was known that he was assassinated. It sent shockwaves across the region. We know that Haiti has been plagued with gang violence for quite some time over the years and many other issues. But I'm not sure if I can say that people anticipated or expected something of that nature, to happen. But I can definitely tell you it sent shockwaves across the region, and for the most part there were some people absolutely worried. But there's no place for violence, whether it be in our politics or in our community. There is absolutely no place for violence. I realize these days people are no longer willing to try to work out their differences in terms of conflict management or conflict resolution. The first thing that people think about today is getting physical, picking up a gun, picking up a weapon, and that is their form of retaliation for whatever the issue is or may have been. And sometimes it is something that is very minor. Maybe somebody might have offended you and it has damaged, or you say it has damaged or affected your ego. And so instead of being responsible and saying, let me sit down and try to work out this difference, you're going to pick up a gun and you're going to use that gun. Forgetting that when you use that gun, you're not just affecting or impacting the life of that person, but you are affecting and impacting negatively the life of the family members, the life of the loved ones, the life of the friends, and the entire community. And these are things that criminals, unfortunately, don't take into consideration because, quite frankly, they don't care. They don't care. But violence should never, ever be the answer to anything. people must always find a way, should always find a way to work out their differences. Sit down, level-headed, have a conversation and see how you can work out your difference. But if our reaction is to always get physical, or if our reaction is to always pick up a gun, and that is our form of retaliation, then we're not ready to move forward to the next stage in terms of the development of our island, the development of our country, the development of the Caribbean region. Because we could be so much further ahead, but because of the impact these guns have on our community. We know that Caribbean leaders, like ours here in St. Kitts and Nevis, have been meeting and trying to come up with new ways, better ways, innovative ways of clamping down on the illegal trafficking of illegal firearms in the region. I made a point some months ago that we do not manufacture, as I know, we do not manufacture guns here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So where are they coming from? How are they getting into the country? That is the big question on the table. How are they getting into the region? How? And so yes, you have the legislation and these different things that would help to deter one from even wanting to have an illegal firearm. There is legislation and all sorts of things in place, but they're still coming in the region, and they're coming in their numbers. And you're seeing a case where these firearms are, the firepower is ridiculous. They have more firepower than the law enforcement agencies. And these things are worrisome. But there is no place for violence. Politics in anything, no place for violence. We must always try to find a way to work out our differences by just having a conversation. Try to reason with each other. The other problem we have in society is that people are very ignorant. And so sometimes you want to sit and have a conversation with them, a meaningful conversation where you just talk facts. And these days, people are offended by facts. When you tell them that this is what it is, they get offended. And that is unfortunate. And so, yes, it is easy for me to say, just sit and have a conversation. But I know the reality of it is that it is difficult. But it does not mean that we should not try. Violence and getting physical is never the way to go. Should never be the response. You're listening to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio, 96.1 FM. I'm Devonne Cornelius. And you're listening to The Edge. It's 24 minutes past the 11 o'clock hour. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation here on The Edge. Stay with us.
Join us every Wednesday for In Focus, a weekly talk show produced by the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. In Focus, your government, your business.
Throughout the Caribbean, we boast a diverse abundance of flora and fauna that adorn our countries. This diversity follows through to our people, communities, and families.
As a doctor, I treat my patients with respect and understanding, without stigma or discrimination, no matter their sexual orientation, practice, or belief. Remember, everybody deserves a fair treatment.
As a mother and healthcare professional, I believe all Caribbean children should be safe, happy, and healthy. Let us create a safe, supportive environment for all Caribbean children to thrive.
Let us treat our LGBTQ+ family members with love and respect. Strong families create a stronger Caribbean. This message is brought to you by the Eastern Caribbean Alliance for Diversity and Equality, ECADE.
Welcome back to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. The phone lines are open and we welcome your calls here on The Edge for Monday, July 15th, 2024. 465-2555 or 718-577-2916. If you are just joining the conversation, I introduced some information on some news from the Associated Press regarding the assassination attempt on the life of former U.S. President Donald Trump. The shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, that is his identification, and the FBI, along with other partner agencies, have launched an investigation into the motive. What could have possibly led Mr. Crooks to want to assassinate a former U.S. president? And so we are staying tuned to get the information as it becomes available. To bring it home here to St. Kitts and Nevis, or to talk about what's happening here in St. Kitts and Nevis, I want to touch briefly on Social Security and the reform conversations or town hall meetings that they have been hosting over the past few days, I say weeks, engaging members of the community, engaging civil society on their plans to reform. So the case for urgent reform has been on the table for Social Security in terms of what the pension age is going to look like. The case for urgent reforms to the Social Security structure in St. Kitts and Nevis was stressed recently as officials undertake broad-based public education and engagement. And so first you have to engage members of the public and let them know what is currently happening and what is going to take place. What does this mean for you? And how is this going to affect you? So Director of Social Security, Christopher Lawad, said last week that the fund reached an inflection point in 2017 when its total expenditure surpassed contribution income. The expenditure surpassed the contribution income. In other words, you were spending more than you were making. Demographics from the recently published 2021 Housing and Population Census revealed that St. Kitts and Nevis has a declining birth rate. Further, due to improvements in healthcare, citizens and residents are also living longer. This means that more people will be increasingly drawing from the fund, while contributions will be decreased. Experts predict that the $1.7 billion that Social Security has in reserves will likely be depleted by 2040 unless urgent reforms are taken. 2040 is right now. We're in the year 2024. 2040, I'm still going to be in the workforce if I'm alive. And we're nowhere near pension date. So that would be very devastating for people who are about to make 40 in 2040, The cost of the fund in 2023 was 16%. The cost of our benefit expenditure and the cost of our administrative expenditure. So we are seeing that we are collecting in terms of contribution income at 11%, but because of that significant increase in pension age or age pension, you can see clearly there is a gap. Director Lawad stated, noting that the number of people collecting age pension was in keeping with projected figures. He said, quote, "We need to make reforms that will ensure that the fund is there in perpetuity and at least for another generation," Director Lawad said. Recommendations in the actuary report highlighted 3 critical areas where meaningful consideration can be made. It proposes consideration for an increase in the contribution rate, amendment to the pension formula, or increasing the pension age. So let me go over that again. The actual report highlight 3 critical areas where meaningful consideration can be made. It proposes consideration for an increase in the contribution rate, an amendment to the pension formula, or increasing the pension age. Currently, the pension age is 62. So, let's say 63, 64, or 65. And increasing the contribution rate. In other words, when you make your money on a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly basis, instead of, let's say, for example, taking out 7% or 11%, they take out more to add towards that pool. Neighboring countries like Barbados, Dominica, St. Lucia, Grenada, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines have already reformed their social security systems to ensure they remain sustainable. And I'm saying that St. Kitts and Nevis should not and cannot be left behind. Quote, there are others that have made changes over the years, and I've seen the benefits in terms of the recalibration. Mr. Luard and other officials from the St. Christopher Nevis Social Security Board are holding widespread consultations with stakeholder groups to raise awareness about the challenges confronting the fund. Public consultations are also taking place. The feedback and suggestions during the meetings are collected and will help to inform reform recommendations that will ultimately be submitted to the Cabinet for consideration. So you're encouraged to stay tuned to find out more about the other town hall meetings that will be held. Don't say you're not going to go, and then when it is time for the reform, you say, well, they should have done this or they should have done that. I think you'll feel better if you go and you participate in the discussions, give your take on what the reform should look like, what you would like to see as part of the reform. But don't say you're not going to participate or you're not going to share your opinion, and then when it is time for the reform to take place, you say, well, they should have done this or they should have done that. And so they are going around St. Kitts and Nevis, and they are engaging with a number of groups and organizations about reform for Social Security. I saw that Social Security was recently at I think it was Summer Crush yesterday, which was very, very, that was creative thinking right there. So the target audience at Summer Crush is people, I would say, between the ages of 16, 17, 18 to about 40, and that's the contribution pool. That's where a large section of the workforce is. So they did a really good job there in terms of reaching that audience. So the next reform is on Tuesday. That will be at the Emmanuel Methodist Church in Crab Hill, Sandy Point. Reform Town Hall meeting, that's Tuesday, 16th July 2024 at 6 p.m. at the Emmanuel Methodist Church in Crab Hill, Sandy Point. This is an open forum where members of the community can come together to ask questions and share their thoughts and concerns about Social Security reform. If you're looking for more details on this, just check them out on the Facebook, or you could go to their website at www.socialsecurity.kn. The next town hall meeting, as I mentioned, is in Sandy Point at the Emmanuel Methodist Church, Crab Hill, at 6 p.m. So I'm encouraging you to go on out and share your thoughts and concerns about Social Security reform and what is taking place there. You're listening to The Edge 1136. I think we were experiencing some difficulties with the phone lines earlier. I don't know if that has been sorted, but the phone lines are open. Call us at 465-2555 or 718-577-2916. There's a caller? Okay. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation.
ZIZ Radio, entertaining the nation, enjoyed by the world.
Get ready to experience an incredible showdown of Kaiso supremacy at the Nevis Cultural Village on Sunday, July 21st from 7:30 p.m. sharp. It's the Culturama 50 TDC Senior Kaiso semifinals. Who will be eliminated? featuring a diverse range of electrifying performances by King This and That, Nutsy, Empress Lyrics, The Undertaker, Lady Smooth, Invincible, Moray, Batman Polo, Lady Destiny, Daddy Fresh Cole, Suki, Adwa, Sabu, and the King Astro as they battle for a spot in the highly anticipated Culturama 50 TDC Senior Kaiso Monarch Finals on Friday, August 2nd at the Nevis Cultural Complex. The Culturama All-Star Kaiso Band will provide musical backing supported by Rudy, the Water Rush MC. After witnessing the nail-biting TDC Senior Kaiso eliminations, you will not want to miss the TDC Senior Kaiso semifinals. Admission is only $20 and the energy will be through the roof. So come on out and catch Kaiso, and more Kaiso on Sunday, July 21st from 7:30 p.m. at the Nevis Cultural Village. It's the TDC Senior Kaiso Fiesta.
Throughout the Caribbean, we boast a diverse abundance of flora and fauna that adorn our countries. This diversity follows through to our people, communities, and families.
As a doctor, I treat my patients with respect and understanding, without stigma or discrimination, no matter their sexual orientation, practice, or belief. Remember, everybody deserves a fair treatment.
As a mother and healthcare professional, I believe all Caribbean children should be safe, happy, and healthy. Let us create a safe, supportive environment for all Caribbean children to thrive.
Let us treat our LGBTQ+ family members with love and respect. Strong families create a stronger Caribbean. This message is brought to you by the Eastern Caribbean Alliance for Diversity and Equality, EK.
From the heart of ZIZ Radio comes a political talk show like no other. The Edge, with host Devonne Cornelius giving you his take on the biggest stories happening in governance today. Got something to say? Let's hear it. Give us a call at 869-465-2555, Monday to Friday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. One solid hour of in-depth analysis of the machinery that makes our country tick. The Edge, cutting into the matters at hand.
Welcome back to the program. We have a caller on the line. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
How the politician them, I don't iron up, you know. How the pension going? How the pension going up, Congo? Because last time I heard, if they spend twice, 2 terms in office, they're going to get pension if they leave office. Sometimes they leave office when they're 42, 43. And me got to work until me 60 to 65, 60 something. I'd like to ask you, what about the politician them who in office and who leave office? How the pension goes? Thank you very much.
All right, Carter, thank you so much for your contribution to the program. Well, I think you have the information right there. The last information I have on that is that as a member of the parliament, whether it be the National Assembly or the Nevis Island Assembly, you serve 2 terms. And after you have served 2 terms, you qualify for a pension. This is not a pension from Social Security. This is completely different to Social Security. You qualify for what they would say, well, government pension. So it's just like when you work for the government and you put in 10 years, you get gratuity. You put in, I think it's 20 years, you get pension or something like that. But for a member of the parliament, you serve 2 terms and you qualify for a pension. I think, and I stand to be corrected, that if you serve 2 terms, let's say when you leave office, you're in your 50s, you can begin receiving your pension immediately. I stand to be corrected, but caller, I think you have it correctly there. I think what the caller was trying to get at, though, is should there be a reform for that? I don't think there'll ever be a reform for the pension for members of parliament, because it is very different when you compare it to pension for the entire population. Because you have a case where the reform for Social Security is for thousands of people, and so the contribution in terms of managing that fund, you're going to need a lot more money. You're going to need experts in risk management and financial management. The risks are higher in terms of managing the fund when you have to pay out pension and other forms of benefits for, let's say, on average, 30,000 people. But it's different when you're doing it for less than 30 people, because we don't have much people in St. Kitts and Nevis who are members of parliament and are receiving a pension. So I believe that is the thinking behind it, that it is a lot easier for you to manage if there's a fund for it in terms of paying pension for members of parliament, and emphasis on members of parliament. So it's not every person who wears a party shirt is a politician. Or let me say that again. It's not every person who wears a shirt affiliated with a party, or you see as a member of a party, would get a pension as a politician. You must first become a member of the parliament and serve, I believe, at least 2 years to qualify for that. You're listening to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio, 96.1 FM. It's 11:43. The phone lines are open and we take your calls at 465-2555 or 718-577-2916. We're also live on our social media handles. Check us out on YouTube at ZIZ Online and via Facebook at ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation. But caller, thank you so much for your question. If you are just tuning in as well, earlier I shared some updates from the Associated Press regarding the assassination attempt on former U.S. President Donald Trump, and now we're talking briefly about Social Security. If I could also share with you, for the benefit of the listeners, there are 2 town hall meetings happening this week. So tomorrow, Tuesday, which is the 16th, that's in Sandy Point. And then on Thursday, 18th July at 6 p.m., this will be held at the Ebenezer Methodist Church in Old Road. That's this Thursday, 18th July at 6 p.m. at the Ebenezer Methodist Church in Old Road. So if you want to know more information about the reform process that is underway, then I encourage you to go on out and participate in this discussion. Ask all the questions that you have. There is no stupid question. So ask all of the questions that you have so that you can get a better understanding of what this reform means for you and how it is going to impact you. Don't leave the town hall meeting and asking the fellow attendees what came out of the town hall. Ask the representatives that would be there. I assume it will include the director, the corporate communications manager, and other officials from Social Security. Ask them the questions. So tomorrow, Tuesday the 16th, is at the Emmanuel Methodist Church in Crab Hill, Sandy Point, and Thursday 18th is at the Ebenezer Methodist Church in Old Road, both beginning at 6 p.m. I am encouraging you to participate. Participate. It is for your own benefit that you know what is taking place. I know a large number of the listeners pay into Social Security. Some of you have received your pension, so go and find out what does that mean for you as well. I'm not saying that it's going to affect you. I'm just saying go and find out what does it mean for you. Now I'm gonna have to wrap up early to make way for the midday newscast. It is now about 11:46 here in the studios of ZIZ Radio, 96.1 FM. Let me say thank you so much for joining me in the program for today. Every day I look forward to engaging with you, members of the public, whether it is for you to call and share your thoughts and views on the things happening in St. Kitts and Nevis, or whether it is me sharing information with you about things happening in St. Kitts and Nevis and other parts of the world, and how does it affect you. So thank you so much. Until next time, don't drink and drive, don't text and drive. You guys take care and have a good one. Give thanks to life. Coming up at noon is our midday newscast. Stay tuned.